Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we are immersing ourselves in one of the most brutal and politically dense fantasy settings we've ever encountered. We're talking about the oppressive atmosphere and treacherous politics of the Synthara Empire.
It's a heavy one.
It really is. Our mission today is laser-focused on navigating the gritty, complex world of Arvel, a young woman who, well, she starts at the absolute bottom of society and gets violently dragged into the highest echelons of imperial power.
Yeah.
We're talking life or death, gladiatorial games, ancient conspiracies, and the heavy, heavy price of survival.
And we really have to jump straight into the immediate stakes of her life because the sheer desperation driving Arvel, it dictates every single choice she makes.
Right.
She is operating purely on the need to keep her family intact. Her initial overriding goal isn't, glory or status. It's entirely focused on acquiring enough lung tonic to ease the agonizing, wheezy, pain-filled coughs of her sick brother Everin.
So the foundation of this entire high-stakes political thriller is just the fact that she needs basic, expensive medicine.
Exactly.
That simple, fundamental human need is what forces her into these unbelievably perilous situations.
Precisely. That need is what drives her to accept jobs like bodyguarding the utterly spineless Gaius. He's just this pathetic figure who has accrued enemies left and right.
How so?
Oh, mostly through cheating at cards and sleeping with various powerful men's wives.
Ah, a classic.
The classic. And Arvel is a phenomenal, highly skilled guard, but she's paid peanuts. It forces her into this constant, grinding cycle of debt and peril.
And her existence is absolutely defined by the environment she lives in. This poverty-stricken district known as Fog's Edge, or what the locals simply call
The Thorn.
the Thorn. It's more than just poor. It sounds aggressively hostile.
Yeah.
It's completely unforgiving.
It is the systemic failure of the Empire concentrated into one physical location. I mean, the name, Fog's Edge, comes from the heavy, damp mist that perpetually clings to the streets, seeping into clothes and lungs. But the sources note that centuries ago, a particularly cruel, drunken magistrate officially renamed it.
He renamed it the Thorn.
Yeah. He viewed the district and its inhabitants as nothing more than a perpetual, irritating burden on the city, an insult that stuck.
Wow. And that dampness and fog that translates directly into disease, right? Hence the constant critical need for that lung tonic.
Exactly. And that's only one part of the cost of survival there.
So what's daily life like?
Life in the Thorn is a daily negotiation. It's defined by dampness, pervasive danger, and a crushing reliance on favors and debts because you can't afford to buy what you need outright.
Right.
The families there are not housed in individual homes. They are wedged into these massive, overcrowded apartment blocks called insulae.
I remember the sources describing the insulae as reaching up to 7 stories high.
They did, and that architectural detail, it tells you everything you need to know about the social stratification. A 7-story apartment block means a ground floor unit, which is easiest to defend and less prone to moisture damage, is a true, rare luxury.
Usually reserved for those with connections or old debts, I'm guessing.
Exactly. Arvel and her brothers live higher up, where the walls are thinner and the whole structure is less secure.
The rule of law seems completely absent. You mentioned the wardens. They aren't protectors. They sound more like organized criminals.
They absolutely are. The wardens aren't there to protect the residents. They're constantly lining their pockets with coercion and intimidation. They impose arbitrary fees and fines.
On what? Just anything?
On anything. Simple survival acts like refilling a cool box with expensive ether crystals, which you need to keep food and medicine like Everin's tonic preserved in the damp climate, that becomes a constant extortionate battle.
So if you can't pay the bribe,
your ether crystals might mysteriously go missing. It's a closed system of oppression.
and it is this desperate cycle, this critical need for medicine, and the realization that she cannot earn enough honest money in the Thorn, that forces Arvel to finally accept a bargain that requires her to compete in the most brutal gladiatorial challenges the Empire has to offer.
It sets the scene perfectly. You have this desperate, highly personal life or death scenario driven by a simple need for medicine, juxtaposed against a gigantic, cruel political machine run by the Emperor and the magic-wielding elite. Her need has completely eclipsed her common sense. She knows the arena is a death trap, but the alternative is watching her brother die slowly.
Exactly. Her whole life for the last 6 years has been dedicated to this grinding necessity of keeping her brothers fed and alive. A necessity that has literally cost her her strength, her instinct, her speed.
It's such a tragic trade-off.
Security for skill.
A life of necessity forcing her to lose the very skills she might need to escape that necessity.
Okay, let's unpack the rules of power that govern this whole place, because Synthara is divided fundamentally by magic, embodied in the sigil marked. This is the bedrock of the Empire's social and political power structure.
It is the defining feature. The magic system is based on an innate, latent power that manifests based on the color of a person's sigil: bronze, silver, or gold. All sigil-marked children gain a handful of minor, useful abilities early on, like basic shielding, conjuring a spark to light a fire, or purifying small amounts of water. But their true power awakens, often explosively and dangerously, between the ages of 11 and 15.
And the political consequence of this system is that it's not just a talent, it's a tiered structure. The crown tiers.
Yeah.
This isn't just about color, it's about raw capability and maturity.
And the scaling is what makes the system so utterly tyrannical. Let's look at the range. A newly awakened bronze marked is practically harmless. They might only be capable of, stirring the air, sending a few leaves skittering across the ground.
Just a little puff of wind.
Yeah. But if they survive long enough and mature into a bronze crowned,
Then what?
that same individual could, with a concentrated effort, tear the entire roof off a house.
Wow.
It's an immediate jump from parlor tricks to serious architectural destruction. Then you move up the scale. A silver crowned can summon a vortex of wind and rain with the flick of a wrist, capable of damaging entire city blocks.
But the gold crowned, they are the political elite, the ones who command absolute authority.
They are the natural disaster level of power. The sources describe them as capable of creating a tornado powerful enough to raise an entire town. This power differential is clearly the bedrock of the entire political system, particularly within the sigil-marked syndicate, where these gold-crowned individuals concentrate their influence.
So, given this immense power differential, how does this system maintain stability? I mean, if a bronze-crowned governor disagrees with a gold-crowned governor, what stops the gold crown from just erasing him from the map?
Well, it is largely might makes right, but it's tempered by the bureaucracy that the Gold Crown themselves created.
Yeah.
They manage the flow of conflict through organizations like the Syndicate, creating a political structure that favors their overwhelming power. An individual Bronze Crown knows they are outmatched, so they have to rely on alliances, information, or their position within the bureaucracy to survive.
So if they step out of line.
If they use their power in an unregulated way, they risk incurring the wrath of the entire Gold Crown structure, because that would be threatening the stability of their own class dominance.
So it's a system of controlled oppression built on the threat of overwhelming force. And this power, as you mentioned, is inherited, which just reinforces the whole class structure.
Yes, though not perfectly. Gold mark parents have a very high chance of passing on the gold mark, which ensures the ruling class perpetuates itself. But there is a natural check.
What's that?
The sources note that the chances of having a void-born, a mundane, sigilless child actually increase with more children in the family.
Oh, that's interesting.
It prevents one lineage from completely dominating the power structure forever, though it creates its own class of ridicule.
Which brings us to Arvel herself, the anomaly at the center of the story. She is supposed to be gold marked. Her mother was gold, meaning she had the genetic right to that immense power. Yet her sigil never grew past the basic childhood level.
And this is the source of her immense personal and social complexity. She is labeled a deficient sigil-marked, or cruelly, a void-born. For the child of a gold-marked parent, particularly one who survived the sands, this is it's unheard of.
So she has all the expectation without any of the power.
Exactly. It means she carries the political expectation of the gold class, but without any of the actual power, leading to relentless ridicule from those who see her as a stain on her lineage.
That must be psychologically devastating, especially since her brothers do possess power.
It is. Both Everin and Gareth are sigil-marked. We even see Gareth, who is confined, manage to awaken his gold sigil through sheer mental effort, capable of lifting small objects like parchment.
Wow.
This incident, while minor, cements the difference in their power levels and critically increases the danger they all face, because Gareth's power means he is valuable to the ground and potentially a target for rivals.
Okay, now let's talk about the rival faction that exists outside the sigil-marked structure, the vampires. They represent a completely different strain of power and politics in Synthara, and they are constantly in conflict with the sigil-marked elite.
They stand in direct spiritual opposition. Vampires worship only Umbros, the dark god, while openly showing contempt for the sigil-marked Pantheon Anoxian, the god of battle, Galeros, and Stelea.
And they're powerful.
Immensely powerful and ageless, with some members being truly ancient, having existed for thousands of years. They're not merely mortals who feed, they are a separate species.
And their unique nature grants them two critical advantages, one of which Arvel experiences personally.
Right. They require blood for strength, though they only truly starve without it. A daily drink keeps them powerful. True starvation takes months. But the major advantage, as Arvel discovers, is that vampire blood provides miraculous, instant healing for fresh injuries.
So if you get stabbed in a fight,
A drop of vampire blood can knit the wound immediately. It's an incredible tactical advantage.
but they suffer from that massive vulnerability,
Oh,
the sun. And that vulnerability dictates their entire existence, doesn't it?
it really does. It necessitates vast underground travel networks and specialized architecture, like the Deep Ludus training compound where Arvel is later housed.
And their hierarchy has a particularly brutal subdivision, the Turned.
The Turned are vampires created from mundanes, and they become ruthlessly exploited by their sires. They are completely reliant on their sires to slake their thirst, creating a dynamic of absolute servitude and dependency.
This is truly horrific. It sounds like a form of high-level human trafficking dressed up as a magical hierarchy.
It is absolutely systemic exploitation. We see the horrifying example of Emila, a powerful, naturally born vampire who has sired 41 others. The sources describe her openly enjoying watching their desperation and subservience.
So the Turned are just disposable.
They are. They're generally weaker than those born naturally into the faction, and unlike the ageless ancient vampires, most Turned will only live a couple of centuries at most. They are disposable, dependent tools.
And their strength depends on their former human life.
Yes, the strength of a Turn depends on the innate will of the mundane they used to be and the sire's power, but they are always a lower class of power.
So you have these two major, powerful, deeply spiritualized hierarchies, the sigil-marked and the vampires, all vying for influence and power under the Emperor's nominal control. It's a political pressure cooker ready to explode.
A pressure cooker where the political battles are waged using the lives of the lower classes and the newly Turn as collateral.
Moving from the social structure to the means of control, let's look at how the Empire manages that conflict. The arenas. The Empire uses organized spectacle and institutional violence in these gladiatorial systems to maintain an iron grip on the populace.
And to convince them that might equals right.
Exactly. There's a crucial distinction between the two major arenas, the Sands and the Sundering.
The Sands is the compulsory arena system, specifically for sigil-marked youth. It functions almost as mandatory military training or public service designed to temper young power. Surviving the Sands is a prerequisite.
So only after that can they learn a trade.
Right. Only after that can the young sigil-marked begin learning a trade and integrating into the workforce.
And Arvel is a former champion of the Sands. She won 6 years prior, but that victory came at an immense personal cost.
The cost was double. The money she won, which was supposed to buy her family a better life, maybe even passage to Nasonius, was tragically stolen by her uncle.
Oh, man.
And worse, she remains haunted by the memory of her friend Cassia dying in that arena. The Sands gave her survival skills, but it robbed her of her innocence and her financial future.
Which pushed her toward the second, far deadlier institution, the Sundering. This is not training. This is a high-stakes calling.
The Sundering is the advanced, truly lethal challenge used as a gateway to the Presidium Guard. Its entire purpose is to weed out the weak before they join the Emperor's most elite forces. The motto says it all, chillingly. Outnicere.
Either kill or be killed.
There is no middle ground.
Let's talk about those mortality rates, because they are just staggering.
They are grim and shocking. It really shows the Emperor's casual disregard for the lives of his potential elite. Fewer than half who compete survive the Sundering itself.
Fewer than half.
And of those survivors, another third die while training as novices for the Presidium Guard. You have a better chance of survival in a war zone than you do entering this competition.
And the fights aren't just strategic. They are spectacles tailored for the Emperor's entertainment.
Exactly. While Gladians may sometimes agree to first blood to minimize damage, the Emperor openly favors those who provide a spectacular show.
Which encourages gratuitous violence.
Of course. And what's more, the sources indicate that Gladians often use this arena to settle ancient family grudges carried over from the Sands. So these are not just training exercises, they are sanctioned blood feuds.
This brutal system feeds directly into the imperial organizations that enforce the Emperor's will. First, you have the Presidium Guard, the Emperor's elite security force.
The Guard is constantly being tested and monitored for loyalty. Novices who survive the Sundering are often personally assigned to members of the royal family, like the Emperor's sadistic son, Rorik, as a high-stakes attempt to ensure their loyalty to the crown. They are essentially living pawns.
And then there's the special, highly elite subset of the Guard called the Imperious, which Arvel eventually joins.
The Imperious are fascinating because they represent the ultimate fusion of power in Synthara. They're composed of both the strongest sigil-marked and powerful vampires, all working together, distinguishable by their unique black armor. And they maintain this strange, unstable culture of gambling.
Wait, so the Emperor's most elite personal guard settles crucial promotions like novice spots based on a card game.
Yeah.
That seems incredibly unstable. Why would the Emperor allow that?
It's instability as a control mechanism. They play card games not just for money, but for favors, including the chance to nominate a Gladian for the novice spot in the Sundering.
So it keeps them busy.
It keeps the various factions, the powerful sigil-marked and the powerful vampires within the Imperious, constantly competing, focusing their aggression on each other rather than consolidating against him. It's a controlled internal competition where the prize is leverage.
And Arvel has some experience with that.
She does. She later manages to win favors from two members, Micah and Lucius, using her card skills honed from years of playing in the Thorns taverns.
Beyond the military arm, the political stage is dominated by two primary, powerful bodies that ostensibly represent their respective magical classes.
You have the Sigil-Marked Syndicate, led by the gold-crowned governor Darius Mellis. It consists of 12 of the strongest gold-crowned governors vying for power. They represent Sigil-Marked interests, but they're constantly fighting amongst themselves for influence, making them highly visible but often ineffective as a unified force.
And then there is the shadowy Vampire Council.
They operate largely in secret. They avoid public displays, especially concerning Gladians or the arenas, preferring to do their dealings away from the Emperor's view. We see later that the Emperor uses public events, like the sponsorship gathering for the Sundering, to openly show appreciation for the Syndicate, aiming to counter any public accusations of favoritism toward the vampires. This is the delicate, tense balance of power he constantly maintains.
It's a system where power is consolidated at the very top, and everything else is designed to manage conflict and distraction, all while maintaining the Emperor's ultimate authority. And that system is about to chew up Arvel and spit her out.
It certainly tries to.
Now we get to the core of Arvel's tragic journey, the mission and the devastating personal price she pays. She enters the Sundering not for glory or status, but because she struck a bargain with the vampire Bran, a choice born of absolute desperation.
That bargain involved a high-stakes assassination mission hidden beneath the ruse of becoming a Gladian. Bran, the vampire sponsor, guaranteed her brother Everin would be healed in Nasonius. And the promise itself just underscores the severity of Everin's condition and the extreme resources required to treat him.
Why Nasonius specifically? And what does traveling via ley lines actually entail?
Nasonius is a distant land known for its advanced healing magic and tonics. Getting there is immensely difficult. Travel requires passage along ley lines, which are these powerful currents of magical energy running over large amounts of water.
And that's dangerous.
For a mundane or a low-powered sigil-marked person, this journey is incredibly dangerous due to the chaotic energy surges and magnetic instability of the lines. It's a journey normally only possible for powerful gold-crowned individuals who can shield themselves, or by using extremely specialized, expensive ships.
So Bran promising this passage, that's a huge deal.
It is. It underlines the sheer scale of the sacrifice Arvel was making.
And Bran ensured her compliance through a particularly nasty piece of magic. The vampire bond.
The vampire bond is the ultimate leverage. It was physically placed on her neck, serving as a constant, painful reminder of her servitude. If she even attempted to speak of the deal, to tell anyone, especially her former love interest Tiernan, she suffered agonizing, searing pain.
Described as fire down her throat.
Exactly.
And it wasn't just a pain threshold, it was physically incapacitating, wasn't it?
Absolutely terrifyingly effective. We see the terrifying efficacy of this bond when she tries to leave the city walls, trying to escape Bran's grasp. The bond activates so violently, almost killing her instantly, that she realizes escape is not an option.
So she has to comply.
She must comply with the assassination order, or she dies, and her brother is left to suffer.
With the bargain struck and the bond in place, she enters the Ludus, the training compound for the Sundering. This is an entirely new world, built far underground.
It is a dark, strange environment that uses the vampire's vulnerability to the sun as a kind of architectural control. The entire facility is designed to keep everyone, including the trainers and royal family members, away from the sun's reach.
The lack of light must be hard for the mortals there.
Oh, yeah. Tyrnon misses the sun terribly, forcing him to create his own small outdoor spaces using immense magic.
Tell us more about the psychological environment inside the Ludus.
It's harsh, totally lacking in privacy. The barracks are described as crowded, leading Gladians to favor the top bunks for better defense against sudden, surprise attacks in the night, a constant reality of life there.
And yet there are these pockets of nature.
Exactly. Amidst the brutality, there are those strange, highly customized outdoor spaces, like Rorik's artificial forest and Tyrnon's well-maintained, magically sustained garden. It adds this surreal, almost ironic layer to the underground facility.
The people running the cruelty are also trying to manufacture beauty. Her training is relentless, overseen by her former guard, Leon, who is also Cassia's father. This relationship alone must be incredibly fraught.
It is layered with guilt and disappointment. Leon doesn't pull any punches, not just because he's a harsh instructor, but because he sees Arvel as partially responsible for his daughter's death in the sands. He immediately points out her most critical weaknesses.
What does he say?
He tells her she has lost the spark that made her great.
What were those specific weaknesses, and why had she lost them?
Her lack of strength, her lost instincts, and her slowness, all a direct consequence of the 6 years she spent focused solely on basic survival, scrounging for food and money to feed her brothers.
So she traded her martial prowess for domestic necessity.
And now she must pay the price for that trade.
And she is immediately confronted by entrenched enemies. This isn't just competition. It's a blood feud carried over from her past.
Absolutely. She is targeted by Baldric, a hunking, silver-crowned brute. Baldric harbors this intense, visible hatred for her because she was partially responsible for the death of his cousin. Cassia, back in the sands. Baldric and his sister, Hester, target her mercilessly during training, constantly forcing her to fight, injure, or kill them just to survive. This is not rivalry. It's a constant personal vendetta designed to break her mentally and physically.
Yet she finds a strained, unlikely ally in Maeva.
Maeva is a key supporting character. She's a bronze, half-crowned Gladian who initially appears innocent and harmless, but she proves to be surprisingly ruthless and strong-willed.
Their alliance is transactional.
Strictly transactional, but it proves crucial later on, especially when Maeva threatens to slit Brennan's throat if he tries to touch the wounded criminal Arvel saves. This tells you that ruthlessness and empathy exist side by side even in the Ludus.
The cost of the arena quickly escalates, forcing Arvel to embrace the ruthlessness Leon warned her about. Her first major fight is against Maximus.
And she's injured severely in this fight. She gets this deep, crippling cut to her back that requires healing from Bran. But she survives. Not through superior power, which she lacks, but through superior instinct. She realizes that Maximus second-guesses himself, and she exploits that momentary hesitation to strike a precise, potentially fatal blow to his femoral artery.
A victory of street instinct over trained might.
That's it. But the trauma isn't just human-on-human violence. Then she is forced to participate in an act of cruelty against a magical creature, the Griffin.
This incident is immensely significant for her development, isn't it?
It is. She is forced to watch and participate in the killing of a majestic, intelligent griffin named Antigras. The griffin is one of the magical creatures caged by the Emperor purely for entertainment.
So this just solidifies her hatred for the system.
It reinforces her deep personal hatred for the Emperor and the entire system he built. She understands in that moment that the system preys not just on the poor, but on all life that is beautiful and free.
And the final challenge we see her participate in is the most complex one, the water fight.
This is a death match against criminals sentenced to the arena, involving boats, arrows, and these dangerous aquatic creatures known as kelpies.
Kelpies. What are they like?
Highly intelligent, silver-bridled creatures that are nearly impossible to subdue underwater. Arvel has to rely on pure instinct and physical grit, even managing to subdue a kelpie temporarily by grabbing its silver bridle to break the surface.
But it's here, in the middle of a sanctioned murder spree, that her core conflict, her humanity, reasserts itself.
It does. She demonstrates a flash of profound empathy. Instead of letting a wounded criminal woman who has already been sentenced to die, drown, or be killed, Arvel uses precious, vital seconds to save her. She hauls her out of the water and ties her off on the boat.
And that does not go over well.
It infuriates Brennan, her competitor, and severely jeopardizes her relationship with Bran, who views empathy as a fatal flaw in the context of the Sundering.
That decision choosing compassion over strategic advantage and the safety of her brother is where her internal struggle comes to a head. It underscores the difficulty of maintaining morality in a system designed for pure cruelty.
It does. She may have survived and won the fight, but she also displayed the one thing the Imperius will not tolerate: a soft heart.
Which is exactly why the consequences of that choice will follow her into the highly political world of the Imperious Notices. She just proves she is a liability, even if she's a talented one. This brings us to the most complex and critical part of the narrative, the political and spiritual conspiracy that ultimately explains why Arvel was manipulated into this whole deadly mess in the first place. This is where we trace the lines of betrayal.
We begin with the gruesome events that plague Santhara and eventually reach the ludus itself. The Mortius cult murders. These were not random killings.
Right.
We learn that 6 bodies were found initially, and then more, all with their hearts missing. The victims, including a respected guardian named Graydon, were marked with a strange, unique sigil above the collarbone.
And the visual evidence was horrifying. Their eyes glowed green.
That green glow, Arvel later discovers, is due to a poison called Noxdraft. And this substance has a strange, almost mythological origin. It was created by the goddess Sarahina as a mercy during the Great Sigil Wars.
As a mercy.
Yeah, designed to give the afflicted a swift, merciful end. But the Mortuus cult has repurposed it to bind souls and cause immense suffering.
Even more unsettling is Arvel's discovery that she can actually communicate with these reanimated corpses.
Yes, and this is an early hint of her anomalous power. She hears their thoughts. These souls are trapped in their decaying bodies and plead for help, asking for someone to free them from their unending plight. They are witnesses to the cult's work, unable to speak out.
The killer is eventually identified as Albion, a silver-crowned guardant who worked with Leon. His motive wasn't money or status. It was steeped in grief and religious fervor.
Albion was driven by a powerful deception. He sought to free Mortuus, the ancient god of ruin, imprisonment, and decay. Albion was convinced that Mortuus, once free, would return all their loved ones lost to Vitorux, the god of the underworld. He had been deceived into thinking the other gods locked Mortuus away out of envy for his power over death.
So this is a religious conspiracy weaponized by personal trauma. Now let's tie this back to Arvel's mission, the critical intersection of this plot, the fateful mistake she was coerced into making.
Bran's true target for assassination, the man he forced Arvel to kill, was Tiberius Cotta. This is the layer of manipulation that changes the entire political landscape.
Who was Cotta and why was his death so catastrophic?
Cotta was the sigil keeper, gold-crowned, and critically, he was the one good noble actively fighting for the rights of the mundanes and low-level sigil-marked, the very people Arvel represented.
He was her secret sponsor.
He was. He gave her a better parma and sword, which saved her life against Maximus. Cotta was the only high-level politician fighting to reform the horrific system she lived under.
And Bran knew this.
Bran knew exactly who he was making her kill. But the true complexity is that Cotta was also gathering the sect members for Rorik's plot.
Wait, Cotta was working with Rorik?
Not willingly. Rorik, the Emperor's sadistic, powerful son, was actually running the Mortuus cult to free the god, hoping to decisively shift the balance of power to the sigil-marked because Mortuus loathes vampires.
So Rorik, while appearing to be running a religious cult, was actually running a political operation designed to undermine the vampire faction and eliminate a rival.
Precisely. Rorik wanted Cotta dead because Cotta was a political threat. He wanted the Mortuus sect to weaken the vampires. By killing Cotta, Arvel unwittingly eliminated Rorik's primary rival for power and stopped the immediate run of sacrifices and the spread of Noxdraft.
Oh, wow.
Effectively achieving Rorik's goal of removing his political opponent while protecting his own underlying scheme from exposure.
That is the devastating revelation for Arvel. She realizes she was manipulated into killing the one person who was trying to reform the Empire, playing directly into the hands of Rorik, the man she should have been targeting.
It's awful. She traded her moral compass for her brother's safety, only to discover that moral compromise achieved the goals of the darkest individual in the Empire.
And it creates a catastrophic political vacuum. Cotta was the moderate voice, the bridge between the powerful gold-crowned and the poverty-stricken thorn. His death means the mundanes and low-level sigil-marked have lost their only high-level advocate.
Pushing reform back years, if not decades.
And this conspiracy requires a deeper understanding of the Corvus family itself, particularly the relationship between Tiernan and Rorik.
The Primus, Tiernan, is revealed to be the Emperor Valius Corvus's son, along with Rorik. This is crucial because Tiernan's reason for leaving Arvel years ago, which caused her so much bitterness and pain, was not abandonment, it was protection.
He feigned abandoning her to save her life.
Yes. He feared his father, the Emperor, would discover their relationship. If the Emperor found out, he would force Tiernan or Rorik to turn Arvel into a slowly dying vampire as punishment for Tiernan's disobedience and attachment to someone from the Thorn.
So he chose to save her life at the cost of her love and trust.
The terrible choice to have to mate.
And if that wasn't enough complexity, Bran's ultimate goal was not even to install Rorik or Tiernan.
No. Bran was aiming for a third brother, an as-yet unseen Corvus, to take the throne, hinting at an even deeper, more complex succession plot that involves the entire Corvus bloodline.
Arvel was just a pawn.
A disposable knife in a much larger, multi-generational battle for imperial dominance.
Let's pivot now to the critical shift in Arvel herself, her awakening and new powers, which happened right in the middle of her greatest trauma.
This is her redemption arc, or at least her power-up. During the death of Antigris the Griffin, when she was forced to participate in that tragic culling, Arvel receives a new, strong, magical shield described as Griffin Blue.
Right, and it saves Leon.
It saves Leon during a subsequent attack. So this power wasn't inherited from her mother. It was a gift from the dying Maginari.
It proves she is not deficient at all.
Exactly. Her gold-marked power was simply delayed and required immense, empathetic trauma to manifest. This gift solidified her true status. Her sigil has now grown twice, confirming her latent gold-marked status.
But the truly unique, coveted ability she manifests is tied to language and history.
Yes, and this is why Rorik suddenly needs her. She discovers her awakened power allows her to instantly read and translate ancient curling script, such as the text Rorik was studying in the library.
A text about Mortuus.
Likely containing the secret to freeing Mortuus, or perhaps even controlling the Lee lines.
And here's the crucial twist. Rorik had been hunting desperately for a vampire capable of reading that text, but no one could. Now he knows the non-powered Gladian he thought he could break actually possesses the key to his research.
Her anomalous status is resolved. She wasn't voidborn. She was a delayed, incredibly unique talent whose power manifested through trauma and connection to the Maginari, giving her an ability coveted by the most powerful individuals in the Empire, an ability that bypasses the need for vampire or traditional sigil-marked knowledge.
So what does this all mean for Arvel going forward? She survived the Sundering, fulfilled her bargain in the most tragic way possible, and her brothers are safe. They successfully reached Nasonias, thanks to Bran.
Her immediate status is that of an imperious novice. This is not a choice she made, but a strategic placement. This promotion was a required move by Rorik, who desperately needs her newfound ability to translate ancient texts to further his schemes.
And Tiernan, her protector, also insisted on this placement, didn't he?
Yes. Tiernan knows that putting her in the imperious quarters, directly under the Emperor's nominal authority, is the only way he can keep her safe and close. She is now housed among her enemies, but where she's best protected from external threats.
She has gone from the poverty-stricken Thorn, struggling to pay for tonic, to the Emperor's elite security force, fully aware of the complex web of family secrets and political machinations surrounding her past and her future.
It's an incredible tightrope walk.
And it's so dangerous, especially given the underlying systemic cruelty of the Empire that remains completely untouched.
Absolutely. The Emperor Valius Corvus is still firmly in power, and the casual, terrifying violence used to maintain his authority is ongoing and public. We see this vividly during the chariot races, where citizens who dared to chant "no more taxes" were subjected to mass slaughter.
Oh.
City wardens just executed them with fire magic on the spot. This level of state terror is the baseline reality.
And the Emperor's absolute control over his elite forces is made clear through his use of punishment against the Presidium Guard.
Right. He punishes a Presidium guard who was away from his post by forcibly turning him into a vampire, a brutal and lingering death sentence simply for missing duty. That one detail tells you everything you need to know about the Emperor's tyranny.
The political stakes here are literally life or lingering, blood-starved demise.
And the casual ruthlessness of the vampire faction is also evident through characters like Emilia, who takes pleasure in watching the desperation of the 41 turned vampire she sired, forcing them to serve her in exchange for blood. The entire political system, therefore, is resting on institutionalized exploitation and death.
The profound irony is that the supposed political bodies intended to protect their constituents are just as compromised as the Emperor's family. You said the sigil-marked syndicate and the Vampire Council, they're being blackmailed.
And played by rivals. They're political puppets, focused on internal bickering rather than governance.
Right.
The syndicate uses the vampire's son weakness as constant leverage in negotiations. And Rorik, with his brilliance, used the Morchus cult murders and Kata's involvement to eliminate his own rivals within the syndicate, reinforcing the fact that no faction is clean.
The system is designed to consume its own reformers.
Arvel now sits at the center of this rotten structure, possessing unique, critical power, the power to reveal ancient secrets. She knows the core struggle for power is entirely between the Emperor's family, the Syndicate, and the Council, all of whom rely on the exploitation and death of the lower classes, the Maginari, and the Turned.
Her ultimate challenge isn't merely killing the Emperor, it's dismantling the entire infrastructure that allows men like Rorik to weaponize religion, Tiernan to carry the emotional burden of the system, and good men like Kata to die for their morals.
It's a massive undertaking.
So now that she knows the full extent of the rot, now that she is on the inside, possessing the power to translate forgotten secrets and a shield gifted by a martyr, what hope does one single, newly awakened Goldmark Imperious novice have of truly changing the Synthara Empire when all three of the dominant factions are equally reliant on the existing system of cruelty?
Well, she has the unique power to unlock history, but history is often locked away for a reason. The real question is, who is she translating those secrets for? And what forgotten ancient god or forgotten weapon will she accidentally awaken next in her fight against the tyranny of the present?
She now holds the key, but she may not control the lock.
Precisely.
That is a deep dive that requires a whole new stack of sources. Thank you for guiding us through the treacherous, layered world of Synthara.
Always a pleasure. That world is nothing if not complicated.
We'll catch you next time for the next deep dive.